Welcome back to the Virtually Vikings radio show, the half-hour program that we will be discussing all things St. John's River State College. Each week, we'll be spotlighting a new degree or program, events, or resources that are offered through the college. I'm your host, Mickey Johns, and thank you all for joining. Today, we're going to be discussing all things student housing with Ms. Terry Eccles, the Director of Housing and Residence Life. Thank you so much for joining with me today, Terry.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I'm excited to talk more about housing.
We're excited to have you because there's so many questions, and I think people are tired of me saying, I don't know, please contact the person at the college. So I'm excited to learn with our listeners. Can you, let's start a little bit with your role. Let's explain to folks what exactly is it that you do. Can you explain what a Director of Housing and Residential Life is?
Sure. So, as the Director of Housing and Residence Life, I'm responsible for creating a safe, engaging, and financially sustainable living environment for all SJR State students that want to live on campus and have that experience. I manage and oversee daily operations, including budgeting, that's the boring stuff, but the stuff that keeps the lights on. Staff supervision, including professional staff and the paraprofessional staff that live in the building, leasing and marketing, resident programming, and then facility management.
So all the things. And I'm sure the students will appreciate the keeping the lights on part specifically.
I hope so. And keeping the air running.
That is a lot over. Yes, AC is important, and the heat in that few couple days we need it in the year.
Right.
So how long have you exactly been with this project? We've been talking about this coming for so long. How long have you been on it?
Yeah, so I have been serving as a director since February of this year. So relatively new, but I've done property management. I've been with the management company for quite some time, and it's exciting to be able to take those skills and transfer them to a startup like St. John's River Student Housing that's coming online in August. So yeah, I just since February.
Okay, so new to us, but not new to this. Like it's something you'll get to kind of nurture as your first stamp from the beginning, but you've done it before.
Right, correct.
Awesome. So the kids are going to be in great hands. What are the main goals or priorities for this new student housing development that you would say?
Yeah, so definitely the purpose of the project was to address the demand and need, the desire to have student housing in a community that would really benefit from it. A lot of students are kind of displaced all over Palaca, which I'm sure is great, but also being able to have, a more intentional living space, living with other students and not just Palaca residents. Not that there's anything wrong with Palaca residents, of course, but being able to be around like-minded individuals and folks that are in their program or in their, in their sport or whatever the case is. So being able to address that need and bring all those students on campus and be so close to their extracurricular activities and their academic programs.
I think it's going to be amazing to have all of our flow arts kids in that one area, like on their little area, and the team building aspect for our sports with volleyball, beach volleyball, softball, and baseball, all having their kind of spaces together. It's going to be amazing just for the camaraderie that's going to get built.
We agree.
Yay! I love that. I'm glad I'm on the right page on that one when I talk about it. What are systems that are in place to smooth those day-to-day operations? Because things come up, and sometimes college students aren't, like, they haven't had experience in it yet. So what's in place to kind of help with that?
Yeah, so I think there are a couple of things. Our phones are going to be managed by professional staff in the offices. And so they can always give us a call to report whatever needs to happen or talk to us about, things they see on their accounts that may not look right or whatever the case is. We will also maintain office space in the building. So there's staff right there on the first floor, almost as soon as you walk through the doors, to be able to channel any requests or needs. There will be RAs that live in the building. And so those are some resources that we identify as being probably what students are going to go to most because they feel most comfortable going to their peers.
And not to interrupt, but those are residence advisors?
Resident assistants, yeah. So those are
Resident
the
assistants.
student
Okay,
staff.
making sure I had the right title so we understood what was going on.
Yeah, thank you. So those will be the students that we employ to live on the floors with students and build community, be able to enforce policy and get students connected to resources that they need, and be able to essentially bring campus into the residence halls, even though it is also on campus. So again, being in the building, having our phones and emails, always checking those, and then having those student staff present will be able to help us run things smoothly from a lot of different perspectives in a lot of different ways.
And I love the fact that the RAs are going to be students. And that's generally how that works. But to kind of block that on, like add on to that emphasis, the fact that it's going to be somebody who has experience with the college in some way, right there with the kids on students. They're not just kids on the floor right there, access to them, as well as all of the professional staff on the phone, and then you guys in the campus as well. That's an amazing outlook. I love the additional student worker jobs. We can't seem to get enough of them. We always love our student workers.
Yeah, and we wouldn't have it any other way.
The and I know you mentioned the phone, the access to the phone and the RAs and things like that. Is there going to be a specific system for them to go through for maintenance requests or the general upkeep of the building, like how we have to do work orders on our computers? Is there something going to be set up like that for students?
Yes. So work orders or maintenance requests rather are going to kind of come through in two ways. So one, we rely on students to tell us what's going on in their rooms, right? I don't know that you have a clogged toilet if you don't tell me that you have a clogged toilet, or maybe the light bulb has gone on in your bedroom. You got to tell us so that we know what's going on. So they will have an opportunity to submit their own maintenance requests that will turn into work orders for the staff on site. And then professional staff will also do regular building walkthroughs. Even though it's a new build, we're always looking at everything, right? This is like what
Mm-hmm.
we're trained to do, because new builds can have some things going on with them, right? And so we'll walk inside and out on a regular basis to be able to submit those maintenance requests that again will turn into work orders for the staff there. Um, but yeah, those are the two major ways that students can submit, and it will be very easy for them to do it. How they submitted their applications, they'll get an access to a student portal where they can see, all of their billing information, but also the opportunity to submit a maintenance request to be completed by staff.
Perfect. And thank you for bringing up the application. We are going to talk about that in a minute. Just a few more things about the housing before we get into the specifics on getting into it. Um, I love the fact that there's going to be safety and security. How is that going to be managed within the residency hall?
Yeah, so there will be CCTV available to professional staff to be able to view, in case things come up, but it'll also um, uh, safety and security on campus will have access
Mm-hmm.
to those devices as well to be able to, be our third eye, essentially watching. Unsure right now if that'll be connected to Palaca PD, but if it is, then we'll expand on that. In addition to having CCTV, there, as I mentioned before, there will be regular building walkthroughs
Mm-hmm.
by professional staff and the resident assistants that live in the building, nightly patrols and walks by RAs and the live-in staff as a part of their duty or their job responsibilities. And then, of course, help from residents. And what I mean by that is, if you don't know the person walking in behind you, don't let them into the building, and be really safe about keeping your key fob with you and not just giving it to anybody or friends, because that's how we keep the building safe for the entire community.
A see something, say something situation, but also just
Right.
don't hand out your key.
Correct.
The kind of things that once you start moving it on your own, you have to pay attention to. So it's good to
Exactly.
start, honing that in. What are standout features and amenities for the new housing that we should brag about with students? What's the big standout thing going on?
Yeah, so something that we are excited about in our common areas, would have to be the fitness room. That's a new add, late addition to the project, but we're working on getting those the equipment kind of solidified and in the building. There is on-site laundry that we're really excited about because you don't have to take your laundry bag to wherever in the community. You can come right downstairs and do your laundry, nice and convenient. There will be some study rooms on the I think third floor, and then two rec rooms or multi-purpose spaces on the second
Hmm.
and third floors. We are still working on what will occupy those spaces. So, whether it's a ping pong table or foosball or a pool table, a piano, to kind of appease all of the students that we know will live in the building. We're still
Hmm.
working on it, but there will be some of those spaces in the building. And then what we're also excited about in unit would have to be the full-size kitchen. So students having early access if they've never made a meal for themselves, being able to practice that in that space, and also prepare whatever meals that they want for themselves, especially because there's so many grocery stores around. And so I think it'll be relatively easy to be able to prepare those things. And we'll do programming around it because, again, some folks have never had a meal on their own or cooked that for themselves. And so we don't
Hmm.
want them to burn the building down, but also we want them to know how to do those things and have that kind of autonomy as they become younger, or I guess continue to learn about being young adults and then eventually living on their own.
I That's amazing. I love and the fact of having the full kitchen. That's such a great experience for them to have with the main folks being our athletic students and our floor art students, the crazy schedules, being able to be right there near their house or their
Right.
place with a full kitchen to be able to go make that meal where they're not just eating the snacks or the quick fast food between places will be an amazing option for them.
Right.
That's exciting. I didn't know about the full kitchen. That's a really nice option. Um, what measures are we taking to ensure accessibility for all of our students? I know I keep referencing those students, but the housing's open for all students. What accessibilities do we have?
Yeah. So in terms of like outdoor accessibility, I think the first floor, the ground level is like level enough to where we don't need a ramp. Like if a student was in a wheelchair then or
Mhm.
on crutches or something, they would still be able to access the building. There are elevators or an elevator in addition to stairs, so students will be able to access every floor of the building. And then, of course, if there's a need that students have identified or disability services has identified, we will accommodate any student to kind of make the room how it needs to be in terms of like removing furniture or whatever the case is. And then there actually are, I just thought about this. There are a couple of ADA bathrooms that are in the building. Where they are specifically, it's still a construction site, so I'd have to figure it out. But there are a few of them in the building to be able to accommodate students who may need them.
Perfect. So, I mean, obviously, you guys, it's not new for your company to be thinking about things like this, but it's always interesting to see the backstory of how long we've been looking and how much goes into it to know that we're already looking at that side of it. And what kind of feedback? I know our advising staff, they just asked me about that. They're so excited for your interview today. What kind of feedback have you received from students so far about like any of the pictures they've seen, the conversations you've had? I know we've been directing a bunch of people towards you.
Yeah. I think overall there is a level of excitement, and that probably comes from it's brand spanking new. So I mean, not just like the building that now stands in that space being new, but everything in it being nice, fresh, and clean is exciting. I think what we are, as a management company, have been trying to do is kind of encourage all students to want to participate in living on campus and not, it's not just for the two groups that we feel like will live in it, maybe more than
Right.
others, athletics and flow arts, but it's for everybody. We went to a couple of, or we've been to open houses, and there are nursing students that want to be a part of it, and we're excited to be able to offer a space for everybody.
Hmm.
And so again, that's what we're working on is making sure everybody knows that they are welcome. But overall, there's an excitement about having an SJR State student only housing opportunity right on campus.
It it's an amazing opportunity, and I know we do. kind of default to the students that we know we have internationally on our flow
Right.
and our flow arts areas and our athletics. But you're right, going out into the high schools, which is what I get to do most, the students don't want to stay home. Being able to offer the fact that housing may not be far from home, but it's not exactly home, has been a perk this year.
Yeah, we're excited to welcome um, everybody who wants to live on and, develop that program with them in mind. So it's gonna be great.
Fill it up, make a whole new community. It'd be great to see how it goes.
Right.
What is, I know you mentioned a student or the study hall areas. Is there something else designed within the building for academic success in the community building aspects of it? Or did I kind of already did we already bring up those things, the study room and the rec centers?
Yeah, I think we can, expand upon it just a little bit more. So, of course, there are those study rooms. And the nice part about those rec rooms, or I guess maybe they're even referred to as utility rooms, they can
Mm-hmm.
be changed, right? And so, if we are trying to have some intentional programming around academic success, we can move all those things out of the way to make room for whatever programming we want to bring over. I was just in the library yesterday, and there's so much excitement. There's so much excitement everywhere on campus, which is amazing.
Mm-hmm.
But especially from the library perspective, like as far as bringing those resources right behind them, because it's so close. And so being very close to the library and a a stone's throw away from the student center is also a nice touch to it. But yeah, I think being able to transform spaces into study spaces or whatever we need them for academic success is a real benefit in the building.
And being able to move things around is going to be awesome. I love, let's maybe not throw stones near the library though, all those windows. Um,
Fair enough.
but I love that it is that close to be able to go to the different areas, and with the libraries being open on Sundays, with
Mhm.
the student housing being right there, they'll be really close to be able to go in and get in their extra study time when they need it. Um, and I love that. I've even seen, so some of the students that might have the double bedrooms, I was excited to see like the different community areas, more of a suite type look. When I've helped family move into their dorms, it was two beds in one room. Like there, you were fitting everybody, everything had to go in the one space.
Yeah.
So it's exciting to see that there's more kind of a personal area aspect, even in just the specific rooms for students to be able to kind of
Yeah.
go and have their area.
Yep. So again, in every bedroom, there's a desk set up for them to have that personal study time. And then if they wanted to, because if they have in the same program or again being like-minded, they can study in the living room together. Or if the
Mm-hmm.
social things are happening in the living room, then they can go to their individual bedrooms. There's really a lot of opportunity to have study time.
And have those different options. The having the
Right.
option part is the important part for me, at least, in my thinking. What so is there going to be specific programs that you know of already that we're going to have and resources for the residents? You keep bringing up programming in general. Is there something you already know kind of in the works for fall as we get started?
Yeah, if I
Yay.
told you, I'd be giving away all my secrets now.
Oh, come
Um,
on. Just a couple.
yeah, no, we do have a couple of things in mind. If you are looking at the building now, the parking lots were just finished or part of them. And so we are excited to potentially bring some food trucks to the grand opening in the first week of classes for students. So working on whether or not it's open to all of campus, because of course we want to continue to, be connected in that way, but that for sure will
Hmm.
be right outside students' windows, so very convenient for them. Um, and that's like opening. Of course, there are some programs that will happen throughout the year, and they won't just be educational. Of course, they'll be educational, but they'll also be social and get students to explore Placa and know more about campus and have a sense of self-care and be able to kind of disconnect when they need it. So we're excited for what the RAs that we are going to be hiring very soon are going to do for the community in terms of programming.
Perfect. And I'm happy to volunteer however I can help. I love our student engagement and onboarding coordinators. I think I got the title right. It's been 2 years. I should know it by now. they got the chance to start some adulting 101 classes, and it's interesting to see how many college employees are showing up to these and learning.
Yeah.
So things like that, it's always fun to be a part of and learn something new, but also get to help the students learn something too.
Yeah,
Well, I
we will take you up
volunteer.
on
Feel
that,
free to put my
Nikki.
name down.
Okay, will do.
So, okay, let's get down into the stuff the students really want to hear. Like, that's the good stuff. That's the stuff the parents want to hear. The students are
Yeah.
concerned about it. But let's talk about how they get in. I mean, that's a big one right now. How are students applying to get into student housing?
Yeah, so if you visit, I guess two ways, and they'll both take you to the same place. Livesjrstate.com will take you right to the website that we'll be using to really just get any information you need about housing, whether it be, move-in expectations, applying, or the housing scholarship. Or you can visit the main website and go to the housing dropdown, and it'll take you right to that website. So that's where you go to apply. Again, livesjrstate.com. And then once you apply, you're simply creating an account so that you have access to your application and all the other steps that follow. There's approximately 9 parts to the application, but I promise it doesn't sound as bad as 9 steps. They're relatively simple. One of them is like, what's your full name? So not bad at all. That's pretty easy. And we all know the answer to that. So that's the
Hopefully.
first part completed by the students. And then the second part is completed by the student's guarantor. And that's even simpler than the student's application. And right now we are kind of in holding because we need to confirm our verification process. And so we're not sending out leases just yet. But we will be sending communication so that anybody who's applied or they've started their application, but they haven't finished it, they know that we are still looking at them. We're still focused on getting them accepted and assigned to a space for the upcoming academic year.
Perfect. So the main thing are either hit the SJR State website and click on housing or livesjrstate.com.
Correct.
Perfect. And then the applications are open. Create your little account, fill out the 9 steps, the 9 parts of the application, and then they're going to hear that they've got it complete, but we're still working on some other parts to it.
Correct.
And it's most basic, is what you said.
Yeah.
Just making sure I followed along. Like I said, I'm learning, so I can talk about it when I'm out there. What is the cost per academic year? That's a big one as far as money goes. What is it going to cost students to live on campus?
Yeah, so there are two options for this year. There is single occupancy and there is double occupancy.
Okay.
To clarify, single occupancy means that there is one person living in a bedroom, and double occupancy means that there are 2 people living in a bedroom within the whole apartment. So of the 4 bedrooms in there could be 2 people or one person in any of those 4 bedrooms. For single occupancy for the academic year, it's 9,500, or what is that? 4,750 dollars per semester. And then for our doubles, it's a total of $7,600 for the academic year, or $3,800 per semester.
That is a lot of numbers to kind of follow along, but that's obviously all broken down on our website to kind of follow along in that respect as well.
Right.
Correct? They
Yes,
can find
it
that
is.
information. Awesome. So livesjrstate.com. I repeat things way too often, I know. Or just go to the SJR State website and all those numbers are there. But what's all included in that cost?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I love breaking it down because I think for some folks there is like that sticker shock, like, oh, that
Yeah,
is a lump sum. And
it's
yes,
not
it
bad at
is.
all, but it's kind
Yeah,
of scary when you first hear
right.
it.
It does include Wi-Fi, so there's no separate bill for that. And that's access throughout the whole building. So whether you're in your room or in the fitness room trying to get connected, it's all there. You are not paying any individual utilities, so all of those things are included in that price. And then obviously there's the room that you're in, but then there's also like this sense of community. So the benefit of being able to be in a building with only SJR State students as opposed to anywhere else in the area is we think there's a value to that, and so we we include it. But yeah, it's kind of like one payment, and that's for everything that you'll need for the semester or academic year.
Take care of it at the beginning and be done with it for the year. That's an amazing deal.
Right.
I've heard something about a $200 discount. How do students get that?
Yeah, so we are so excited to be able to offer the housing scholarship that essentially is a $200 rent reduction per month, so $1,000 per semester. So it brings that cost down each semester. There are a few requirements though. So one, you have to be an SJR state student, and for anybody listening, that's probably you. Awesome. You also have to successfully complete the housing application and then essentially meet all the requirements to live on. And all of that is explained in the application. Those are the first two. And then the third option or third requirement, rather,
Mm-hmm.
there's some service hour component to it. So meeting 50 hours of service per academic year. And you can get that in a variety of ways, whether you already volunteer and you can count those things. It'll be pretty easy. I think 10 of those hours can be done at the library and the tutoring center. Boom, you're probably already there studying, so why not get the credit for it? And then
Mm-hmm.
housing, we also will be doing some programming to help students meet those hours. So it's not just kind of figure it out on your own and get back to us. We will also be very helpful in helping you maintain your scholarship for the whole year because we know that that's an important part of this process for many folks.
Well, and we have the Viking days of service in the fall and the spring that give them service hour options there
Perfect.
too. So there's definitely going to be easy to kind of knock that out. Are you able to use financial aid for housing? I brought up the fact that there's lots of numbers. Can we use our financial aid for it?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. What we have determined,
Mm-hmm.
essentially, once all of your academic program needs are met with financial aid, whatever that leftover or the refund, essentially, the student would potentially get that and then would just be responsible for paying the rent kind of as they would if they lived anywhere else in the community. But yes, financial aid definitely can be used to pay for housing.
Perfect. And then can students pick their roommate?
They can, and we encourage it. We want that to happen. It makes my job easier, especially as we go into assignments in the summer. But yes, when you're filling out the application, no matter if you selected a single or a double, you can indicate folks that you'd like to live with. I will say there's a little caveat. Those people or that person also has to mutually accept you as a roommate, so you can't just want to live with folks and they don't want to live with you, or you haven't talked about it at least with them. So yes, but you can indicate roommates in the application.
Perfect. That way they're not just randomly, selected and thrown together in maybe an odd couple type situation of a night owl and a morning
Although
owl person that's never met each other. I can see the friction, so it's a good idea to be able to choose that person. It's not a
I
shock
will,
going
yes,
in.
but there's also an opportunity in the application to fill out like a interest survey so that if no, maybe I'm new, I'm an incoming student, I don't have people that are my people yet. I
Mm-hmm.
can indicate like whether I'm a night owl or an early bird in the application, and then the application will essentially help us pair like folks together for those roommate options.
Perfect. Okay, we talked about roommates. What about emotional support animals? Are going to be allowed on in the housing?
Yeah, so service animals, 100%. I think we're still working with disability services to kind of nail down the emotional support animal. We believe the answer is yes, though. And if there are any concerns that students have, please feel free to reach out, but it'll be in the handbook as well. I think generally we're saying service animals and emotional support animals can provide a type of service that's different from an actual service animal. But still working on the concrete answer for you, but we believe that emotional support animals will be allowed in the residence halls.
No, that's more than I knew. So thank you. One more time. I know I've already said it a few times, but they say to say it seven for people to hear and understand. How are students going to find this application for student housing?
Yeah, you're gonna go to livesjarstate.com, navigate to apply, complete your what are you gonna complete? Your account, and then submit your application.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Terry, for joining me today and sharing all this information about the student housing. I know I get emails and I've gotten like information sessions, but I think I learned so much more just getting to talk to you one-on-one. So thank you so much for sharing this with our listeners.
Yeah, I appreciate the time and the opportunity.
And thank you for tuning in to this episode of the Virtually Vikings. We hope you enjoyed our insightful discussion with Ms. Terry Eccles, the Director of Student Housing and Residence Life, um, and all of the amazing opportunities that are going to be available to students. Remember, as long as you're a student at SJR State, you can apply to stay in the student housing. You don't have to specifically be a part of what people most think is going to be for that, which is the flow arts and the athletics. Anybody that's a student can apply to be in that program. If you have any questions or ideas for topics you'd like for us to talk about in future episodes, we'd love to hear from you. Please reach out to us at virtuallyvikings@sjrstate.edu or through any of the SJR State social media accounts. Your feedback and suggestions are always welcome. And just like with the housing, people had questions, so we knew it had to get covered. So please let us know what you have questions about. Remember, whether you're looking to start a new career or advance in your current one, or simply just exploring new subjects, SJR State has the resources and support you need to succeed. We're here to help you every step of the way. Until next time, go Vikings!